Okay, so I have no intro for these videos yet, but I'm going to try to work on it if they get popular. The first trail that I took today was the one that goes around Horse Butte. My brother and I, the first time we rode out here, we were having a lot of trouble finding all this stuff, and this was one that we just couldn't locate. It's an off-road trail for all kinds of different stuff. The one that we were trying to find is really tight. I'm glad we didn't find it the first day we went out there because it's pretty tough. The part you're seeing in the video right now is not that bad. As you can see, I'm going fairly good clip. It's still, once you get farther along the trail, it gets pretty bad. Pretty single tracky and very, very dusty. There's portions where even now it's really tough, and I'm working myself sweaty just trying to keep the motorcycle up. It weighs 350 pounds, so it's kind of an unwieldy machine for the type of riding that I'm doing, but I absolutely love it. I think it's making me a much better rider, being on something this big, but because it requires so much balance. It requires a ton of balance to stay all the way up, and not constantly trying to fall over a little bit. I'm going to apologize for the video quality this time. You're seeing way too much of my handlebars versus the sky and the surrounding area that I'm riding in. This is because I tilted the GoPro too far down. That was my mistake. I couldn't remember if I was supposed to tilt it a little farther down than perfectly straight up or a little farther up, and I tilted it too far down instead of just a little tiny bit up, and it ended up being too much of handlebars. It's fine because you can see a lot of the trail, which is cool, The texture is pretty important to see riding off-road because now you can understand why I'm going so slow in certain portions. There's a lot of sand, and it's a heavy bike. So this hole in the ground here is something that we couldn't find. This is the trail we wanted to take. He wanted to show me this, and I found it on my own eventually using OSM, and it's like an offline tiled map for your phone. I try to reach in and grab someone was firing bullets down there, and I tried to grab one, but I'm super afraid of heights, and I hit the camera on the rock, and I was like, forget about it, it's not worth it, because you can't see down there. It's really scary to look. But that's the first thing that I wanted to show you, and there's going to be more cool stuff, but this is pretty much the best geographical thing. Second part of today's ride is going to be out at East Fort Rock, the trail system. I just started out on a similar place that I start out every single time that I ride in this area, and it's pretty cool. I like this trail. It's really sandy though in certain places. There's a lot of whoops. You'll notice if I have the volume turned up, I'm not sure if I will, you'll notice that there's a lot of revving of my engine, and it's because I'm trying to wheelie over all these whoops. And on a bigger motorcycle it's really hard, but you have to give it a lot of gas. But I'm trying to wheelie over them because I hate riding through them. It's so hard on your knees and your hamstrings that it makes it really tough to stay up for very long, because I'm trying to stand whenever I go over those big bumps, so it's going hard on my back, and that's trouble. It's really sandy, and I'm trying to wheelie over these whoops. But this is a lot faster than I went when I was first starting out here. I started riding this summer. I don't know if that's apparent in the video or not, but on this motorcycle, it's been a huge learning curve. So this single track stuff out at East Fort Rock, I believe I've done before, but I did it on a WR250, and not even the street legal version, the off-road one, and it was a lot easier. I still dumped that one over though once when I had it. I was just borrowing it from someone, but yeah, you can see a couple times where I just slam down really hard, and it's because there's rocks like hidden in the dirt that I don't see, and a rock hidden will topple the dirt bike pretty easily, especially one like this where it's almost deadened a little bit. It's pretty good for a bike this size, but the feeling of the steering was almost deadened a little bit, just because of how heavy it is. But this is one spot where I was trying to go as fast as I could to give a good representation of my abilities. I really like the whoops, but they're not a huge amount of fun once you're getting tired. The last time I went out riding with my brother, I was going the fastest I've ever been on my motorcycle, and off-road, that is, like just pushing myself really hard, and that was pretty tough. By the end of the day, I was really, really tired. There was one, I hit a bunch of whoops, and I didn't know about the wheeling thing. I just found that out on YouTube, and I hit a bunch of whoops, and then finally, and I was keeping up with him. He rides a KTM 500 EXC from 2016, so it's a brand new European motorcycle. I should be in his dust. He's way older than me, way more experienced. I should be in his dust, but he had a bald tire, so I was able to keep up with him fairly well on my super outdated XR650L. So, I was super tired at that point, just trying to keep up with him. And finally, I remember hitting one whoop, and I was like, I'm done. I can't stand up anymore. So I just rode first gear all the way out of that trail, and he asked me if I want to do any more dirt. And I was like, no, there's no way. You just get so tired from all the whoops. And the video that I put up a little while ago here was pretty bad. Or the video was fine, but I'm talking about the texture of the road. It was very, very mushy and sandy, and the area that I'm riding in now is a lot better. So I finished off that East Fort Rock system, and this is riding out on Road 18, and I just turn off Road 18 here and onto this other section that's heading out towards the Horse Ridge area and Golden Basin Loop, and I think it's Horse Ridge on the left. You probably can't see it in the video. I just don't have the camera tilted up high enough. I apologize again. But just looking off to the left, that's where you would normally see it. I just keep riding here straight for a little while, and I just try and I'm trying to give a good representation of how much crap there is all over the place. Like that's a huge problem with the OHV trails right now. Coming up here, there's a sign that says private land, and I'm not sure if my speculation is correct or not, but the way I understand it is this is like ranch land, like cattle ranch land, and they just have cows grazing through here. There's like tons of gates and cattle guards everywhere, and you're supposed to close the gates, and it's private land. So it's a public road, I guess, because I'm riding on it, and no one stopped me. But there's so much trash. There's all these cars out here and stuff like that, and just bullet holes in them, and tons of stuff in them, and garbage everywhere. And I'm just wondering, like, why is it that people want to go dump their trash in the middle of nowhere? Like, you literally have to drive by a dump and a landfill to get to these places. So why not just drop your stuff off there? Sure, it costs money, but it costs money getting put in jail because your stuff is out in the middle of nowhere if you get caught. It's a pretty hefty fine. There are definitely people out there who the private companies who want people to report trash being thrown out and dumped and stuff. But this is the beginning of the Golden Basin Loop, is what my brother called it. And I just try to ride through it. This is my second time doing it on my own, but my third time in the area. Because I went with my brother. We didn't go on the exact same stretch, but I went on my own. This section here is really tough. It's steeper than it looks. Especially since this video is pointed so far down, you can't really tell because you can't see the horizon. But this area is pretty steep, and it's pretty sandy. So I'm trying to stand a little bit and put the bike in first gear and just rev, because you got to keep the speed up on a bike this big. So I'm trying to keep my speed from decreasing too much. The wheel's just spinning. My back tire is probably on its way out. And there's tons of rocks too, so you can see me like wobble the handlebars back and forth, and it's to avoid all the rocks. Because I mean, like, the bike can handle the rocks, but at a certain point, if it's a loose one, if you hit a loose one, you're going to go over. Because you lose all the traction in your front tire. So now you can see him walking, and you might be wondering, why would someone walk when they have a perfectly good motorcycle? It's just this spot I've been to now 3 times, and my brother and I just kind of sat in front of it, him on his KTM and me on my Honda, and he's like, "You want to try this? You want to try this?" And I kept on saying no and giving him a ton of reasons. You can see me kind of like kick the dirt and kick the rocks and stuff, because this area is really sandy and really rocky, and the farther I go up it, the more horrible it gets. The steeper it gets, the more bad stuff there is. But it gets really steep, and then the turns, as you can see here, I'm starting to like march up the hill because it's so steep and sandy, and even in my boots, I'm starting to lose traction. And I can just imagine on the motorcycle that I'd be in first gear, I'd be like slamming it as hard as I could, and just trying to keep the bike from falling over. And we're pretty high up at this point, but it would just suck to lay the motorcycle over this high, and it keeps getting steeper. So I look up, and I'm like, I'm not walking anymore, because it's too steep to walk. At that point, you're almost climbing. And I was really tired from riding all the way out here. And I didn't have a ton of water left, so I was like, I'm just going to turn around. Right here at the beginning of this video, you can see that I look to the left, and you can see just kind of a light color sand. That's the dunes. It's not really like beach sand type stuff. It's kind of more what the road is made out of, but it's not like hard packed. It's very, very sandy and very deep, and it's enough that I wouldn't want to ride through it. I just wasn't. I almost thought about it just for video's sake, but that's like my one Achilles heel, is just riding through dust at slow speed, and you can't really get a lot of speed when it's all dust. So I just didn't feel like riding it today. But the rest of this part here is just a hill climb to the top of this peak. I don't remember what it's called, but it's across the area from that first hill climb that I walked up, and it's not nearly as steep. There is an even steeper portion after this, and I think I show it just for a second when I'm turning the bike around, and that's a 250 hill. I wouldn't want to do that on my bike. I'm just not good enough yet. But I would attempt it on a smaller bike where it's just super easy to pick up. But this one is really heavy. In that second video I uploaded, it showed me coming down Coyote Butte, and that was like a very gentle set down, but it was so heavy to pick it back up. If it were any heavier, I don't think I would have been able to do it without some sliding it around on the ground first. So this concrete pad, I believe, is a cistern for water storage. My brother was saying he's never seen any trucks or anything up here. He thinks they fill it with a helicopter, which is pretty badass. That was the hill climb just behind me. And then I just ride my bike up onto the concrete, turn it off, and then on the right there you can see there's a lid to fill it. And from my point of view, I'm pointing out at the concrete thing kind of in the middle of that open sandy spot. That is the part where they pump the water to feed the cows. And then so I open this lid and I make a sound so you can hear it. And it resounds very loud. And like if you fell into something that's pretty big, you would not be able to get out. So I'm glad they have that over top of there. This is one part of the video I wanted to include just because it's one of the more fun sections, kind of tight turns and a lot of trees and stuff. I'm not super great at turning. There's a strategy to push down on the handlebar and then rev the engine up. And if you're going the right speed and you hit the brake at the right time, you'll slide. You'll do like a power slide, and then your wheel will keep turning, and you can go around the corner and go a heck of a lot faster than what I'm doing here. I'm just dodging a lot of rocks, and I'm trying to go fast. It doesn't look like that in the video, but this is one of my favorite sections in this area. And then I come to this open spot here, and you can just see everything from this one section. There's just the visibility here is great. You can just look straight down into the basin. To the right there, it goes pretty well downhill. I usually turn the bike off and coast, but you can just see the trails down there, and this is just, I've never been up here on my motorcycle. I just wanted to park it for a little bit and have a look and document it with the GoPro. This road is just down that hill that I was talking about. It's really steep, and just a little ways away from that. We're kind of starting to get outside the basin, and we're heading back towards East Fort Rock in kind of a northwest direction. I just stopped at this gate to open it. This is kind of procedure. I rant about it a little bit later, and I talked about how I think this is private land. I'm not 100% sure it is. I just know that this is a public road, and there are cows here, and it would just be annoying to have them all get let out. I actually couldn't get through this gate last time because of all the cows, so it's just really simple to move through and push your motorcycle and put the gate back up. Not that hard, and you should do it just because the whole off-road idea and people riding gas-powered or whatever, motorcycles and ATVs and side-by-sides and cars even, off-road, it's being eroded. The whole idea of it is going away. And it's not for lack of riding. There are tons of people out there doing it, but it's because you have a big push from people who are saying that we're doing stuff wrong. We're making a big dent in the environment in the area that we ride in. But as you can see, I pass through, and I don't leave anything behind, and I don't really ride off the trail. And I don't think it's the motorcyclists that are the problem. I don't think it's even people in cars with the intent to off-road. It's just like people passing through and the people living in the area who are dumping a lot. And we need to just do our best. So closing the gates is my way of doing my best to make sure nothing goes wrong. And then And this is here where I start my little rant, and I'll let you listen to that.
That's why we can't have nice things. Very simple. I know it's hard. Close the gate. Much of this is private land with a public road running through it. The reason they have you close the gate is because there's cows here. So I realize that if you're a motorcyclist, it poses a problem. Because you can't see it very well, and I almost ran into one. Had it been closed, I probably would run into it. So I left that one open, but that was on a much bigger road. This one, I mean, there were cows here last time I was here, blocking these gates. Like, so many you couldn't get through. So for all those to have escaped, if I were the property owner, I'd be pissed off.
And the reason that I'm so mad about it really is like I was saying before, anytime that you do something wrong, you don't close a gate or whatever, it just gives people one more thing to say about it, one more reason that we need to close this trail down for access and off-road use. And I'm just having so much fun on this that I would really hate to see it all closed down. And right there is one that did get closed down. I rode past a sign right there where they close it down for soil preservation is the #1 thing. But you'll see signs that say trails are getting closed down for lessening conflict between users, which means you've had people who go to law enforcement or to the Forest Service or whoever owns the road or has authority over it, and they talk about how the motorcyclists or off-road people are either leaving trash there and they get mad about it, or they will like ride by and be disrespectful or whatever, or they might just not like it that they have to share a trail with a motorcycle, and they'll make a big stink about it, and then they close the trail to prevent conflict between users. And it's fine because in this area there's very few trails like that. Most of them are open to everyone, horses all the way up to motorcycles and cars and anything that you can take on there. The problem is the inconsiderate people who don't do what you're supposed to do. You know, you should give right away to the people who deserve it. So if you're hiking, biking, whatever, the best way to go about it is to pull in your clutch on your motorcycle, slow down, and just idle by them, and don't do anything that would annoy them. And if it's a horse, I mean, like, you should probably turn your motorcycle off, get off, and take your helmet off. I believe that's the procedure, so you don't spook the horse and then endanger the rider. I have never encountered a horse, but I know they're there, especially around the Horse Butte area outside of Bend. Pretty popular for the equestrians. So this road is heading towards Bend, towards the East Fort Rock trail system in a, still north but mainly west direction. And it's a really good road, honestly. I found this big rock structure here. It looked like a wall from far away, and I just was really curious about it. So I decided to walk up to it, and mainly I'm watching the ground because I've heard there's snakes and scorpions and stuff. And it's not like I'm really far, but I didn't have a ton of water, and I was just afraid that if I got bit by a snake or whatever, then I'd be kind of far from society. And I don't have a phone. My phone's broken. So as you can see, I was looking in a hole there, and then I just kind of hiked up around the back of it to show some of the top. Once again, this would have been better if the camera wasn't pointed so far down, so all you can see is rocks, but I apologize for that. So then I just look around a little bit off the top. You can see a lot of the landscape and then I just make my hike back to the bike. Then I found this other rock structure that looked really cool from far away on the road. The main thing I noticed about it is because the rocks are almost in a circle, which is really crazy. It's just weird to me how all these rocks get stacked up. It looks almost like they're all growing out of the ground, and that's one of my favorite things about the landscape in Central Oregon is just the like volcanic rock everywhere. And I talk a little bit about it, and then I just walk back to the motorcycle and continue on my way.
Interesting place to camp. This is one crazy rock formation. Just chilling here. Very weird. So I believe Highway 20 is in that general direction, and Road 18's that way. As you can see right there is Horse Butte, the red one, Skull Mountain. Unacceptable. But this is what should happen to a Subaru.
That was a joke about the Subaru. I didn't mean to offend anyone. That wasn't the objective. I was just looking at that garbage, and then over there I look back and I see a bunch of people camping, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I wonder if they have anything to do with this Subaru, shot up Subaru being here in a million pieces. It just annoys me that people would even do that. They would go through the trouble of towing a car out to the middle of nowhere to see what it's like to shoot it with bullets. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. Just go to a junkyard, buy a car door, shoot that, and take it with you on your way out, and then you'll know. But instead they want to throw trash everywhere. You know, thousands of pounds of trash. It should make a lot of sense. So yeah, I just keep riding on these trails. This is Cabin Butte right here that I'm riding to. And it's a tough ride. So I've been by here a couple times, and each time I couldn't go up here. But I talk about that once I get to the top. For now, you can just have a quick look at this hill climb. It was a heck of a ride on this motorcycle for sure.
Fall over. So, really close attention. I came by this area before, but there are a bunch of people here, and the problem is that whenever there's people, there's guns, which I don't have a problem with, but you can't ride up this hill when they're shooting at it. I mean, you can, it just wouldn't be advisable. But yeah, that was pretty sketchy. Back tire's getting low, and it was steep and very dry today. Yeah. So we came from a ways over there, but cool.
So this is the last video. This is the back side of Coyote Butte, the other side of the same butte where I dropped my bike in one of my other videos. This is the much harder side, so I'm just pushing my way up. I start in third gear, and it was kind of like midway through third gear, not quite in the power band. I should have been going faster, but I wasn't sure what the texture was going to get like up so high. I never made it this far when I did it last time. It's just there's no good line. It's all really bumpy and really sandy, so there's nothing you can do. So then second gear, and then I downshift to first gear, and then eventually I come to a stop, and then that's going to be the last in the video. I talk about it for a second, and then we're done. Thanks for watching.
If it worked for this, I could make it. Just this gravel up here, so soft. Really soft gravel. This thing can torque its way up a lot, but the whoops in the soft gravel is just not good. Need a lot more speed for it. I'm not there yet.